Hey guys, welcome to another 31 Horror Toys in 31 Days review, and this is the finale review of the series. So, unfortunately, it's taken me a while to get around to this, but I'm finally here, and we're finally reviewing the Evil Dead Dead by Dawn Ultimate NECA Ash figure. So this is an awesome figure, and he's absolutely amazing, but we'll get into that in a second. First, let's take a look at the packaging, which is pretty dang cool. You know, it says Evil Dead up there, and then it's got an image of what I assume that's like supposed to be Bruce Campbell's skeleton, right? Like his skull, and there's his eyes. I've always just sort of assumed that's it because it resembles him a bit. I don't know, maybe it's just his eyes. Okay. Then if you take a look at the back, there's some nice images of the figure in different poses. I like that they have a diorama set up there. They've got this girlfriend's head. There's also a bit of a read up there. Let's take a look. It says, after a relaxing cabin vacation doesn't go as planned, Ash is left with 3 dead friends, an undead girlfriend, and an angry evil spirit on the loose. As nightfall approaches, Ash must prepare to again battle the legions of the damned if he wants to make it to dawn. So I guess that's basically it. Actually, in Evil Dead 2, it's only his girlfriend that he went up there with, but if you want to be technical, it is sort of a sequel, since it is called Evil Dead 2, to the original, and basically that beginning part is just a summation of what happened. So you could just say it either way, I guess. Okay, down here it says includes interchangeable heads and hands, axe, shotgun. He actually comes with 1 interchangeable head, by the way. Linda's head, possessed hand, reel-to-reel tape deck, and Book of the Dead. Pretty cool. On the bottom there's some acknowledgments of people who worked on this one. Director Randy Falk, who did the sculpting. There's a lot of good sculpt. Adrian Smith. Good job, Adrian. Okay, pretty good packaging. Nothing else to say other than there's a warning that you can kill children from the age under 3 years with this, apparently. Okay, so let's open this guy up and take a look in a second. Actually, let's just take a quick look here. There he is on the side. That's actually really cool. Nice diorama setup there. And then there's a figure in the packaging. Okay, now let's pop this thing open and take... Okay, here he is out of the packaging, and holy crap, he comes with a lot of stuff. Like, so much stuff. But to be honest, I do have some complaints about the stuff he comes with, but we'll get into that in a second. First, to start out, let's take a look at the figure himself, the sculpt and paint, which is very well done. I like the... maybe he's a little too clean, honestly. Maybe there should be a lot more blood around here, but I think it's a fair amount. It's not too much that the sculpt and paint is all taken over. If you can hear a siren in the background, that's because I live in Stockton. There's always a siren in the background. Alright, I think that looks like Bruce Campbell a lot. Maybe a little bit of an odd expression for him to be wearing. I don't know, it just seems like maybe they should have chosen a more subtle face feature, but I do like that he's always doing these weird facial expressions, and that sort of captures that, so, you know, some people may like it, some people may not. It's a sort of an up-in-the-air type thing. But I think the eyeballs are painted very well, the teeth there, all the little cuts and scratches, this slick hair, which I think he's not quite as slick as the original version. So this is, they call him the ultimate version because, as you can see, here's the original, and his legs have that old style articulation, which I think NECA only did with maybe a few figures. But yeah, it's a V-cut. But as you can see, his face is a lot more greasy looking, like quite a bit more, whereas this guy's face is a lot more matte painted. Yeah, so whichever you prefer, you could swap their heads if you want, I think. Well, technically you'd have to swap the ball joints too, because, well, he has a sort of peg type thing instead of a ball joint. I'll show you it in a second when we're doing all the head swaps. But yeah, he is beautiful. Look at all this stuff he comes with. Yeah. So his pants are sculpted nicely. There's nice paint on there. I feel like maybe it's a little too skinny around this area, but I'm willing to trade off having it look proportionally well, just so we can have some articulation that works, because if I wanted to just have good sculpting in that crotch area, I'd just stick with this figure, right? But I don't want that. I want articulation. Okay, so, and he does have quite a bit of that. I will point out that these 2 parts here are made out of rubber, and that makes it quite pliable when you're moving everything around, but also makes it a little bit odd sometimes, just like, I don't know, if you're moving stuff around and you hear all that squeaking noises, it makes you feel like you're going to stress it out, and if you do that too much, it may start falling apart or something. Just not a huge fan of that. I feel like his belt should be painted black as well. Not sure. I may touch that up myself, but I'm pretty sure it should be black. Other than that, they've got his duct tape on his arm painted silver, which is something they didn't actually do the original release, as you can see there. So, I like that quite a bit as well. Overall, I would say he has good sculpt and paint. Maybe his posture is a bit off. I don't know, let me see about that. Now you can change that if you want. Overall, yeah, it just looks really good. All these folds and wrinkles. All the little variations in the paint. I will say he doesn't look quite as painted as the other Ash figure. But, again, if you want him to look a little bit more clean, that's your choice. Which, honestly, I do prefer him a little bit more clean. Okay, so now we've basically gone over the sculpt and paint on this guy. Let's go over all of the accessories. So, to start out, let's talk about the interchangeable arm, which, if you pop this off here, you can see it has a peg to that hole in there. And then here's the alternate arm, which just snaps in. And the difference is this one has an extra hand. So you can have his possessed hand where he does all the flipping stuff. Kind of wish he could articulate a bit more so he could, like, grab himself. Which, I mean, technically, if you just wanted to, you could use tacky glue and make him look like he's in that position. But whatever. You could have him throwing plates at his face and stuff. Yeah, so articulation is going to be a bit of a problem. We'll go over that in a minute, though. The hand is sculpted well on this one. It's basically the same arm as the other one, just it's got the sleeve at the end and then a hand attached. Sculpted well, it's got nice folds and wrinkles. There's a little bite mark on his hand there. Goes over there, so that's what infected him. And he's got long nails, which haven't been painted. He's just sort of got a whole dirty wash over this hand. But I like this hand quite a bit. It does sort of capture that grotesque look that his hand had. And then you can swap that out, actually, because he comes with a regular hand, which is something that the original didn't as well. The original came with a swap-out hand, but, I mean, swap-out arm, but not the swap-out hand, so this is pretty cool. Although the hand does look a bit odd. It's in a weird sort of gesture, I think. I think it should be a little bit more made to grip, so you could, like, put the shotgun in his hand, and it wouldn't fall out, or maybe the book. It just feels like this is maybe a little too open-handed, so you can't really store stuff in there. But it is sculpted nicely. Let's see. It looks like a basic hand to me. Perhaps not quite as wrinkly as it should be. Let's see if I can actually get focus on this. Yeah. Then the underside is more dirty than the backside there. I don't know, these fingers sort of look like they have more chubby proportions, like a slight bit off. But I still like it that we have this optional regular hand, so if you just want Ash to be 100% complete, you can have him like that. Which is strange because most Ash figures, you know, are missing hands. It's just the way Ash is. He can't keep a hand in his life. Okay, and then other accessories he comes with. We've got the Necronomicon here, or however they call it, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, which is actually, if I remember correctly, the one from Army of Darkness. This is not, yeah, this does not look like the one from Evil Dead 2. If I could get some focus on it, you could tell yourself. There we are. It's got quite a bit of detail on it, though. Even the little teeth are painted there. You can actually see the face on there. Yeah, it's like a book made out of bound in human flesh and written in blood, right? Yep, I think that's it. And then on the back there's sort of like a mouth gaping there. It looks pretty cool. Then all the pages are dirty looking. I think overall it looks really good. The only problem is it is the one from Army of Darkness. So let's get that focus back in here. Okay, let's move on to the next. Let's see, why focus? Come on, there. Okay, next piece here is this little recorder, which is pretty cool as well. I think it's basically everything you could ask for with a little tape recorder like this. And this is what pretty much causes it all for him, because he has to play the stupid tape. And here it's saying all sorts of things like Kanda, paper. Doesn't really matter what it says, you get the general idea. Why can't it just focus on everything so easily? There we are. Yeah, it's got a nice red button there. A nice sort of gunmetal silver all over. That's been dirtied down a bit. yeah, I just think this turned out really well as well. Little pieces on the sides, a little braiding there. Yeah, I like this piece, but again, well, maybe I didn't even mention this. I don't think you can really do much with it. It's cool to have, but at the same time, I can't really think of much to do with it. So, yeah, it's good for like a display piece, I guess, if you want to have someone setting that over in the background, I guess. And then next, oh boy, yeah, it comes with a lot of stuff. Let's take a look at the severed hand that he has here, which is basically, it looks similar to the sculpt of the other hand, but it's got this extra piece of skin in the back. Yeah, see? It's extra chunk of chunk. And it can look like it's sort of crawling, which is basically what it did all the time, right? Like all the bonage in the back there. It's even painted. It's all chunky around here. It looks really good. Well painted. A little bit of grotesque sliminess. And then this one has black nails as opposed to the other one not having any paint on its nails. Very nice. And then let's swap that out with the next accessory, which is Linda's head. Which, you know, I think is sculpted very well. It does sort of resemble the actress. It's got the nice hair of her. And it's creepy as heck, just overall. It's even got the severed little disgusting gore back there. Yeah, they really did. I think NECA did a really good job at showing some of the gore that's here. Just little torn up parts here and there. Looks really good. She's got the white eyes. Her hair is sculpted and painted beautifully. One of the problems, though, is she doesn't really, when you set her down, her head just wants to topple around a bit. Unless sometimes you get it right. Like, look, see? It's sitting perfect here, but sometimes I set it on a solid surface and it just leans forward. It's a little bit top heavy, but if you find the right positions, I guess you can leave it like that, and that's the way it should be instead of toppling around. It would be nice if it came with like a vise you could put her in, which if you've seen the movie, you know what that's all about. Put your head in there, and I believe, does he saw her head in half? I don't remember that exactly. Okay, and then I guess this is the final non-weapon accessory, which is an interchangeable head, which is sculpted very well. Just look at that, it's got all the mangled teeth. This is when Ash got evil for a little bit. He got infected and turned himself into a deadite. Nice greasy hair. It basically looks like the same hair as the figure, but then it's got this extra added on face that's all creepy. I like how they've just made all of his proportions like just a little bit more. Like he has a bit of sunken in eyes, so they made it way sunken in. He's got a big jaw. They put that ridiculously long nose, extended that nose a bit. That's basically what they did in the movie, so well done. And now let's see how that swap out looks. It's a bit tough. I'm going to get the feeling that I'm going to break it because it's a peg like that instead of just having it, you know, like it should be more of a ball joint. Ball joints don't feel like they're going to break as much. But yeah, there's a little phallic piece there. And then his head can pop in. This one's a bit tight and hard to get in. Let me see if I can work this. You'll end up breaking your hand while doing this. Okay, but yeah. This is cool because originally they did sell an alternate version of this figure, which is just basically this. So you'd have to pay extra back in, like, I think it was 4 years ago, just for a figure with a different head. And it is cool to have this option, but at the same time I don't think it's an extra $20 worth of cool. So you could have him as Evil Ash if you want. Which, personally, I don't really care to display them like that, but I do like to have the option. Let's pop the other head back on, and now let's take a look at the final two accessories, which hopefully we can get through without spending too much time. We've got his axe here, which is covered in some green blood. Fun little fact is, Sam Raimi wanted to make this, keep it from getting like an unrated rating or whatever, NC-17, whatever they called it. And in order to do that, he felt like he couldn't have the red blood everywhere, so he mixed in all sorts of weird blood colors, like green here. And it didn't really matter. I believe they ended up getting that bad rating anyway, but it was a good try. So I think this looks like a really good axe. Looks movie accurate to me, and it fits in his hand not extremely well, because once you put the shotgun in his hand, it extends it stretches out the hand a bit too much, so it just flops around in there. But if you want to have him hold it like by the front, then it's fine. It's just, to me, I feel like his hand wasn't sculpted too well there. That's maybe one of their falling downs, because it doesn't exactly have a trigger finger, and it doesn't exactly have a sort of axe holding hand. So he's kind of in between there, and because of that, he can't really hold either accessory too well. So yeah, there's Mr. Floppy Hand there. Next weapon is his shotgun, which is rather basic. It's got its trigger there. I feel like its trigger guard's maybe way too big. I don't feel like it should be that big. But it's got a nice sculpt overall. There's the double barrel. I love how in that movie he's always shooting off the shotgun, even though, you know, he should have to reload, but whatever. It's got a nice wood grain paint in there, some gunmetal up here, and just basically really cool. Okay, let's pop that in his hand, and let's see how it works. I was able to separate his fingers a little bit, this trigger finger a little bit from there, and that makes it a little bit better for holding the shotgun. However, he can only really hold it with one hand because, well, it's not just because he's missing this hand. If he had the other hand, he just holds it like this, down his hip level. He can't really raise it too high. As you can see, the hand won't really be able to reach it. So it's basically a one-handed shotgun. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but I think it works. You could have him shooting from the hip, and he can't really raise it to eye level too well. Let's see. I guess kind of, although it's falling out of his hand in that position. There you go. So yeah, it's a pretty cool weapon. The accessories are pretty cool overall. I like that there's so many of them. I feel like there's a few falling downs, but not too much. Let's go over the articulation, and then we should be done. So, head can do a full 360 spin. He can look up that much, look down that much. He's got head pivot. Then at the shoulders, he can go full 360. He can move up to about a right angle to his body. At the elbows, he can do full 360. He can bend to almost 90-degree angle. He can bend backward, not too much. There's no wrist articulation on this one, but on this one, there's a ball joint, so he can do all sorts of poses. Let's put that back in, like that. Whatever you want to do with that, yeah. Then on the other arm, just about the same with everything, except for he's got the wrist here, which is a little bit more inhibited than this one, so it can only do a little bit of back and forth with this stuff. Okay, and then at the waist, he does have full 360 spin. He can bend to the point where his shirt starts coming out of his pants, which just looks weird. You gotta tuck that back in. And then he can bend backward that much. And then he can do sort of a side-to-side movement. So that's pretty good at the waist. Then at the hips here, he can kick out that much. He can kick forward that much. Can kick back. He has a little bit of swivel. He has a little bit of everything at those hips. That's amazing. I do like those hips quite a bit. He can do splits. Then at the knees, he can bend to not quite a 90-degree angle. Kind of disappointing in that area. But he also has a swivel. Full 360 technically if you want. Yep. And same on both sides there. But then at the feet, there's a little bit of ankle pivot and a little bit of back and forth, but not really too much. Just to the point where you can try and keep him a little flat-footed for posing. So as you can see, like, that's him with using his ankle articulation to its fullest extent. So it does work, just not too much. So I do like this figure quite a bit. I would recommend him. Keep in mind there are some errors, but overall really, really cool. The accessories pretty much make up for any little errors that he has, and the box is beautiful for displaying. So tell me what you guys think about him. I like him a lot. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next review. Peace.